Okay, so where do we leave off?
So why do you take out the skinny one? I just stuck it in there.
What about 15 lines?
A judge is allowed to be related to each other?
Are judges allowed to be related to each other? I'm not. I think so.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I somehow I think Haaretz and Aaron, I think, are related to each other.
I mean, deciding on the big vote.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
But Yaakov and Eretz Yisrael, they got to have the one of the judges is being appointed whose husband's an MK or something like. Real shadiness.
Is that so?
For the Supreme Court, nonetheless.
By the way, Kodshim says, if I remember right, says no. That I think like even by cousins they wouldn't be able to do it.
No. I'm saying to each other or to the Balei Din.
No, for sure not to the. For sure. Wait. What do you mean? To someone going to din?
Yeah. No, for sure Balei Din is not allowed.
That's for sure not. That's like first parakah Kodshim Mishpat. But
Right.
but Dayanim being related to each other, I think they have like a. I think there's a level that they can't be.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm a little late, but I feel like this is election night. Do we have any results, or we have to wait till recount?
I don't know myself.
It's always another 24 hours.
It was the Russians.
One thing.
Russian collusion.
We established one thing. Your vote doesn't count. You have to show up more.
I'm just curious what everybody else voted. I don't care about me.
It's a secret vote. You can't ask privacy questions. It's HIPAA law.
If the vote's not at 8 o'clock, Naftali won't vote.
First of all, I think in Wisconsin they have 100% from the nursing home voters. That's the latest that came out today. So you know, Landau, I work in a nursing home, so I got 100%.
My wife's from Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. When you're making your schedule for next week, Naftali,
Yeah. I gotta make dessert. Purim. I can make dessert. Purim.
I'll tell you like this: the results are in, and the announcements will be made shortly.
Oh, look at that!
Now, Tolly's got to know which night he's going to come and which night he's not.
Exactly.
Got to plan that out.
Yeah, because his sponsorships, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
Naftali, don't let them beat you up like that. I know an Austin like you is busy nonstop, doesn't have a minute to breathe, and calendar is planned 90 days out.
I learned from Haaretz. He's the best ass can ever.
That was one of my Purim pasts.
It might be a little early for Naftali, by the way, Aaron. I don't know what time you plan on starting this thing, but it might be. He's still davening Shachris.
Listen, I'm not the only one that was at 9:30.
I think he just gave it away.
Oh.
No, I did not. I was just no, nothing to do. I don't know myself what the decision is. To be honest with you, I mean, I have an inkling, but I don't know the exacts on him.
After you get the invite, you're welcome to change your vote.
I love that this is recording now. By the way, we get this.
There you go. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, about 15 lines down. Chof Beis Amud Aleph. So we, Chagigah. This stuff is hard enough to be considered like it's already Yevamis, to be honest with you.
If you ask for Masechta, your vote gets taken away.
You just have to look back for your free Gemara.
In Daf Yomi.
You got to look back for your free Gemara that you get. That's our problem. We should start giving out free Gemaras at the beginning of each Masechta. Right? Yeah. Anyway. So what are we saying here? Yeah, so we had this Machlokes, Avya and Rava, what the problem is in the Mishnah with for kodesh toveling one kli inside of another kli. So it was either because the weight of the inside kli is going to make a chatzitza on the outer kli. That was one reason. The other reason was because we're afraid that you're going to tovel little utensils inside a cup, or inside a bottle that doesn't have an opening of a shreferes hanoid. Yes, Elio, 3 inches is Ramosha's shear for a shreferes hanoid is 3 inches. Reb Chaim Noah's shear is about 1.5 inches. That's how big the pipe has to be between the mikvahs. What do you say?
It's consistent.
What do you mean it's consistent?
I'm not is always smaller than a Russian, no?
Oh yeah, I'm saying it's out of Chazanish is probably a little bigger than that. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the machlokes. So then the Gemara says, "V'hani mili." You see it? It's about 15 lines down, I would say, from the top. V'hani mili b'kli tar. This is talking about where you're toveling the utensils inside a tahar kli, which means that the tahar kli doesn't need tevila. Only the utensils that are inside the kli. So then you're not allowed to do it for kodesh because we're afraid that you're going to do it in a kli that doesn't have an opening of at least 3 inches. Oh, but kli tameh, but if the outer kli needs tevila, so migu t'saka tevila l'kulei gufei demana, since the tevila works for the outside kli, meaning the kli that you're toveling, salgalunami l'kelim de'ispe, so it's also going to work for the kelim that are inside. Right? Meaning, even though we said that you cannot tovel utensils inside other utensils, but that's only if the outer kli doesn't need a mikvah. But if the outer kli needs a mikvah, then you are allowed to tovel it, which is again a lumdus, which may not necessarily make sense. And if you have the takana, you have the takana. What's the difference if you're toveling the outer kli? So we say, the outer kli, your yaitza, the outer kli. Since the tevila works for the outer kli, it automatically has to work for the inner kli. The tanan kelim shemilan. Kalim vitbilan, if you have utensils that you fill them up with utensils, harayelu tahirin, they're all tahar. Vimlay tovel, but if you don't tovel it, so then now we're going to see the Gemara in the next line is going to ask what this means exactly. Vimlay tovel, and if you didn't tovel it, that's a literal translation. Said mayim hamuravim, then the water that's mixed in there, achi muravim kishreferes hanoid, then it has to have an opening to shreferes hanoid. So it's a little cryptic what that means. So my kamar, what exactly did the Gemara just say? So what it means is like this: if you didn't tovel it, if the outer utensil does not need tevila because it's already tahar, right? So then you're going to need water to mix in with an opening, at least the opening of a flask, which like we said is 3 inches. All right, so we see a brisa to back mishna to back this up, that if the outer kli needs tevila, so then that works. All right, fine. Now the Gemara says, this machlokes in Rava and Ravila is actually Machlokes Tanaim. Again, their machlokes is why they asked one utensil to be toveled inside another utensil, either because of the weight of the inner utensil, so it's a chatzitza, or because we're afraid you're not going to tovel it in a correct pot. The Tanya salv begargusni shamil and kalim v'tvilin. If you have a basket or a strainer that you filled up with kalim and you toveled them, bein lekodesh, bein letrumah tahirin, whether you toveled it for kodesh or whether you toveled it for trumah, the tar. Abashalaymer letrumah avalay lekodesh, but you do it for trumah but not for kodesh. Right, so you see that's a Machlokes Tanaim, right, of whether it's going to work or not for kodesh and for trumah both together, right? So the Gemara says now finally we get to this question that everybody's been bothered by. So 1 second, if you're worried about that the weight is the issue. See hachi trumah nami, right? If it's going to be a chatzitza, so then why is it not a chatzitza for trumah too? Right? Ihachi trumah nami. So the Gemara answers, Laman kam, who are we telling this din for? Chaverim, we're saying it for chaverim, which means chashuvim. Chaverim made the yadi. Chaverim know that they know that they're not allowed to tovel kalim inside another kalim for trumah. I'm sorry. They know you're not allowed to do it for kodesh, but you are allowed to do it for trumah. So since they know the din, so we don't have to be worried about it.
There are different chaverim means a different thing by trumah and tara than it might be by something else.
Why are you saying that?
because they know the halachas of mikvahs or of tevila. But maybe somebody else is a chaver in I'm saying in Orach Chaim, and they don't know.
Oh, I thought it meant that they're I don't know that they're frummer.
Not that they know the halachas of what's going on here. Plenty of people you would say from a yidden, and they have no idea what's going on in terms of tevila or mikvah. Maybe I don't know.
I learned that they were just overall frum. No.
But they would have to know the laws of mikvahs.
Yes, they
right?
would have to know. Yeah, they'd have to.
A lot of people we would call from don't know that.
That's true. No, that's true. Listen,
Art Scroll says a chaver is someone who took upon themselves the meticulous observance of the laws of Tumah with all their attendant customs. Meaning, would it be specifically nogea to this? It's not like someone who's just like a from guy.
That's what I'm saying. So when we talk about a chaver in a different masechta, it's not necessarily the same chaver as we're talking about here.
Okay, I hear that. I hear. It's an interesting thing today because I can't even tell you. I don't know what about today. How many people asked that they forgot to mention Rosh Chodesh and Ala Michya? Do they have to repeat Ala Michya? Right. I'm saying these are from people. David, it's exactly these are from people who are good at. Listen, maybe they're frummer than me, so I didn't have a hamamina that you have to repeat it. But I'm just saying that.
And you might say the same thing about some of the questions that I text you.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it.
No, I'll tell you why. Because Birchas Hamazon you don't repeat even. That's the way I answered all of them. I said you don't even repeat Birchas Hamazon. So if you don't repeat Birchas Hamazon, you certainly don't repeat Ala Michya.
Birchas Hamazon on Shabbos, you repeat it.
At least they're saying
Shabbos is a big shaila.
At least they're saying Ala
Michya. Because shaila simple, right?
Pashtus says you don't, even though there's a chi of Suda, because the chi of Suda is because of Shabbos, not because of Rosh Chodesh.
Right.
Oh, so
Yaakov, now that you're
anyway,
speaking of this, what's the definition of an Am Haaretz in the Gemara? What is the definition of an Am Haaretz?
Back then, the definition clearly changed between what an Am Haaretz back then and what an Am Haaretz. Back then, it seems like an Am Haaretz was more, I don't know, it was more, not just not educated. It seemed like Beshita not educated, something like that. Nowadays, the way we define Am Haaretz is clearly not the way the Gemara defines an Am Haaretz. That's for sure.
Okay.
So back then, an Am Haaretz was like somebody who says, I mean, from person, but he doesn't nonchalant from.
That's regular from right now.
Whatever. I'm not gonna whatever it is. It's right now what we say Am Haaretz, it just means that a person he's erlich and he's this, he just doesn't know anything. Right? It's different. It's different. It's a different.
And everybody else. I mean, I'm not in Halacha, but everybody else with Roiv of Klal Yisrael is called Tinik Shenishba. That's what
you're saying.
That's what would be but that would be the three categories.
Yeah. Tinik Shenish was more. Tinik Shenish was more for.
Well, most of the people who are not Shem Shabbos now are Tinik Shenishba then.
Yeah, well, the question is, some people want to tie it. There's no such thing as Tinik Shenishba nowadays because everybody's aware that there's from people in the world. How can you call them a Tinik Shenishba? Tinik Shenishba is pshat that the kid, he's not from because he never knew such a thing. So some want to tie that nowadays you can't say Tinik Shenishba. Right? There's videos of from all over the place. Right, but then the Chazon Ish really, I mean, not that they had videos from by the Chazon Ish, but the Chazon Ish pretty much says that we still consider them Tinik Shenishbas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I became from, I knew nothing about frumkeit. Even if I knew about from Jews, I knew nothing about it. And someone said Shabbos, so what the heck's Shabbos? How would that make any sense? Just because they've seen a guy with a hat on or a yarmulke on TV, like shkoyach. Now that's supposed to make them from. They see God because Matisyahu was on late night TV.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying no, but you see.
What's TV, son?
You see people. You see people preaching, and it's.
What's Matisyahu?
The guy from Hanukkah, no?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But anyways, okay. So anyway, so the Gemara is saying, so ihachi trumah nami. So again, I'm just stepping back a second. So we're saying trumah too. I mean, if you have these concerns, either according to both opinions, either the concern here is a chatzitza, or the concern is somebody's gonna end up toveling utensils in another utensil that doesn't have a 3-inch wide opening. So, but for both of them, those concerns should be for trumah and for kodesh. How come the Mishnah says it's only for kodesh? So Laman, so I'm going to answer Laman Kamri on Chaverim. It's for Chaverim. Chaverim made the other. So Chaverim, they're more educated, so therefore they know how to differentiate. So then the Gemara says, "Ihachi kodesh nami." Chaverim are educated by kodesh too, not just by trumah. So why are you allowing it being more lenient by trumah? You should be more lenient by kodesh too. The Chaverim are going to know. No, so the problem is Am Haaretz v'azal matvil. No, and Am Haaretz is going to see them doing it for a hektish, and then they're going to go be tovel for themselves for hektish, and therefore we're going to have a problem. So it says trumah nami chazili Am Haaretz v'azal matvil. Trumah also the Am Haaretz is going to watch, and he's going to go be tovel. So the Gemara answers, which is quite an interesting thing. We will not be. We're going to have this in the upcoming block. We're not going to be makabel trumah from an Am Haaretz. So since we're not makabel trumah from an Am Haaretz, so therefore we're not so concerned if he watches us and makes a mistake, because we're never going to eat the trumah anyways. All right? Which is quite interesting, because are we not concerned for the Am Haaretz's religion? We're only concerned for our religion. I mean, we're saying, an Am Haaretz, right? An Am Haaretz, what are you going to do with an Am Haaretz? He's going to watch us. He's going to watch, and then he's going to serve you food. And then you're going to be eating food in a kli that's no good. So we're saying, well, we're not going to take the food from a trumah from an Am Haaretz. That's very nice. And then how about the Am Haaretz? Right? So I'm not exactly sure what you do with that. It's an interesting thing, because, everybody's so busy with, you have somebody not from in your house, you can't let him pour the wine, right? For you at least. But if he pours the wine for himself, he's himself being Aivah on when he drinks it, right? Which is an interesting thing. A not from guy pours wine for himself. So many say you're not allowed to let him even pour for himself. You have to pour for him, because otherwise he's drinking his own stam yenam.
Yeah, there's a famous story about that. Never when somebody from Shapiro's wine, never somebody couldn't stand Ahmed bin Hussein in the early 1900s. So he would go to Shapiro, and he worked Shabbos. He would go to Shapiro's and he asked him to boil up a bottle of wine for him so he could make kiddush on it.
Oh yeah, Taka?
Yeah. One of those famous stories from then. Yeah.
So
how does it help for me to pour for it? As soon as he lifts his glass, is going to be an issue.
Yeah, that's true. Right. I'm sorry. You're right. Even if you have to feed him, I guess. Right. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's why you got to always have mavushal. Yeah. Fine. Anyway, so the Gemara is saying we're not going to be makabel trumah. Okay, so kodesh nami, the Gemara asks, kodesh nami we won't accept kodesh from them either. So then the Gemara says one of the more fascinating answers in Shas, havile Aivah. No, you got to take kodesh from them, because otherwise it's going to cause animosity. If we don't take the kodesh from the Amaratzim, then it's going to cause animosity. They're going to get really upset at us. So therefore, we have to trust them by kodesh. So therefore, now 1 second, let's follow this through.
You didn't take them from trumah.
Correct. So you're not taking
the fellow's never eating tovel. It's a chalila chorus, no?
Yeah. 1 second. No, but here let's understand the lumdus here. We're really saying that kodesh is more chomer than trumah, right? So we're saying, okay, why do we allow this kalim to be toveled by trumah and not by kodesh? Because by trumah they're educated. So we say by kodesh they're also educated. No, because the Amaratzim are going to watch you by kodesh. Okay, but they're going to watch you by trumah too. So you say by trumah we don't take it from the Amaratzim. By kodesh we are going to take meaning if an Am Haaretz comes to the Beis Hamikdash and says, here's my wine from my utensils or my oil, we have to take it from him. Why? Because otherwise there's going to be animosity. And there's going to be animosity, it's going to cause us big problems. Now, so therefore what? So since there's going to be animosity, we accept kodesh from Am Haaretz. Therefore, they may learn from us if we tovel a utensil inside another utensil. And they're going to learn from us, and therefore we can't do it for kodesh, but we really could do it but trumah we can do it. That's how the lumdus goes. So that's Aivah. So the Gemara says trumah nami avile Aivah.
Can I?
One second. Let me just finish this. So trumah nami avile Aivah. Trumah is also going to be Aivah because we're not taking the trumah from them. How can you not take the trumah from Am Haaretz? They're going to get upset. No, that's not Aivah. Right? Like ichbaslei, he doesn't care. The Am Haaretz doesn't care. If we don't take it from the Am Haaretz, like the Am Haaretz comes with his trumah. He comes with like 10 apples and says, here's my trumah. And we don't take it from him. So he'll go to Azal Yavle, the Kayan Am Haaretz Chavri. He's going to go to his Kayan Am Haaretz friend and say, hey, the religious guy didn't want to take my stuff. You'll take it? He'll take it. Okay, so he's not going to be so upset. Right? But by kodesh, if we don't take it, he's going to be very upset. And what's going to happen? Now we'll see in the next Gemara that they might go decide to make their own mizbeach. Right? Very interesting thing. So what are you saying now, Gesh?
Aren't all these issues that we're dealing with are D'Rabbanan, ultimately? We're not dealing with tovel or Kodshim.
It's a chashash tovel. It's a chashash.
It's not really.
Well,
just
here,
in case he did something else.
Here we happen to be talking about tum and tara as opposed to tovel, but it's the same chashash coming up in the next Gemara.
It's still a D'Rabbanan though. He's not going to be eating tovel.
No, enochanami, but it's not. Yes, that's true. He's not going to be able. Well, we don't trust him for trumah either.
So we don't trust because we have chumras.
Yeah, so that's what Rabban was referring to.
We don't call them chumras,
yes,
and what's the kodesh? We're not going to allow an Am Haaretz to bring a carbon. He has a chiyuv. What are we talking about here?
That we can't take it because he might be matamer the whole Beis Hamikdash.
With
the Maisa, we do take it, but because of Aivah.
How does a live animal become tummy?
No, it doesn't have to be an animals we're going to take from him, but we're not going to take oil and wine and all that type of thing if they come to donate it.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's what it's saying. Anyways, okay, so that's what it's saying. Okay, so let's say who's the shita that's chayshut for Aivah? Rabbi Yossi, it's Rabbi Yossi. The Tana Rabbi Yossi. Why is everybody believed on the Tyra of Yain and Shem the whole year round? Right? Anybody that comes to the Beis Hamikdash with wine and oil, we accept it from them. Because we don't want everybody to go. And build his own mizbeach, and burn his own para aduma, right? So and therefore, since we don't want that to happen, we have to take it from everybody, even though there is a concern that they don't do it properly. Who are we going with nowadays that we mekabel eidos from an Am Haaretz? Kiman Rabbi Yossi. It goes like Rabbi Yossi, right? Because if we don't take from the thing, he's going to go. If we don't take eidos from an Am Haaretz, he's going to go make his own bezdin, right? And now the Tosfos that's actually Negeya. Well, like Keman Mekablin and the second Tosfos from the bottom, right? Who Keman Mekablin Sadus me Am Haaretz Rabbi Yossi. Rava Elchanan Aimer the Kaimelan Rabbi Yossi. We hold like Rabbi Yossi. V'chashin la'eva, and we're chayshish for animosity. Lefika mizamninon achshav b'chol Am Haaretz. We can make a mazumin by benching, but birchas hamazon on every Am Haaretz. Afal gav damrina bebrachas ein mizamnin al Am Haaretz. Right? V'gam Rav Nashir tachlifa loy rotzel lezamin aleim. V'rim efarish loy kol roitz alita l'sashem lahachzik latz v'betamad chacham. Shaloi lezamin al Am Haaretz b'yodei lito. Meaning, not everybody could say you're a Talmud Chacham that you want to be like that you don't want to take an Am Haaretz. We don't consider ourselves Talmid Chacham, right? So meaning the Talmud Chacham doesn't have to accept an Am Haaretz, but you can't accept yourself as a Talmud Chacham, right? So you got to accept all Am Haaretzim. So that's because of it seems like Taisus is saying it's because of Aivah. So we do. If you have somebody not religious by your table, you're allowed to include him as part of the mezuzah, right? There's an interesting din that you're not allowed to give. Somebody asked it to me today, Grada. They wanted to know if they can give their land. Something from Yisrael. They want to give their landlord food who's not from. So can you give it to them or not? So the Halacha in Shulchan Aruch is very clear. You're not allowed to give somebody food unless they're going to make a bracha on it and wash their hands. That's clear in Shulchan Aruch. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says, and you got to be Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach to say this. He says that was back then. Nowadays, if you don't offer food to people that are not from, it's going to be an Aivah, and it's going to cause such animosity that you have to offer it to them. I don't know what changed. If anything, I would think there's maybe less animosity. Back then, it seems like there was a lot of animosity. So I'm not exactly sure. I understand what changed about it, but that's what Rav Shlomo Zalman says, right? So based on Aivah, we change these type of things, right? So, yeah, I think maybe because now we became a much friendlier world. So it used to be in the Shulchan Aruch times, you're sitting next to somebody at a table eating, you eat your food, he eats his food, and you don't mish. Nowadays, you're expected to offer somebody. You sit on a plane, you right? Sitting on a plane, you take out your pastrami sandwich, and then you, French fries, or you always offer the guy next to you. It's expected that you offer. So maybe that's why there's more animosity. Whatever, that's a practical application of applying Aivah nowadays. Okay, so then the Gemara continues about 8 lines up from the bottom. Why don't we be concerned? And this is a long kasha. This kasha takes almost an Amud, right? Why don't we be concerned that you're borrowing the kalim from the Am Haaretz for trumah, and he didn't take care of it properly. Since he didn't take care of it properly, we're going to end up becoming tamei, which Taisus says he doesn't even understand the havamina, right? Because when you borrow things from an Am Haaretz, you tovel it, which is going to ultimately be the Gemara's teretz. So Taisus basically says he doesn't understand the havamina. Who borrows kalim from an Am Haaretz without toveling it first? Right, but it seems like the Gemara is entertaining that thought now that maybe you would borrow kalim from an Am Haaretz and not tovel it, and maybe he is going to watch you tovel one kli inside another kli, and it'll be a chatzitza, or it won't be an opening wide enough, and the tevila is going to be no good. So that's what Gemara is saying. So first, the Gemara has to prove that we do borrow utensils from Am Haaretz. Yes,
according to the Gemara before, though, that when Baron was asking about what a chaver is and what an Am Haaretz is, according to before, someone who borrowed from an Am Haaretz and wasn't worried about the tumah and tahara of said kli is by definition, in this definition, an Am Haaretz.
Why? I mean, he could be why is he borrowing
someone because in the definition, at least according to the art scroll here, says the definition of an Am Haaretz here is someone who's from, but is not concerned about it. Doesn't overly concerned about tumah and tahara things. But someone who's a chaver in this situation is someone who takes tumah and tahara very seriously.
Here, so you're saying somebody who borrows from an Am Haaretz is not taking it too serious,
right? And if they were so concerned, A, why would they borrow? But then B, they would automatically become. They would automatically
tovel it. They would tovel it.
Right.
Yeah, I hear. I'm not sure. I hear you, Kasha. That's a good question. Maybe isn't that essentially what Tais is asking? Like, who borrows kalim from an Am Haaretz without toveling it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I hear that. Okay.
I mean, at that point, again, I guess I don't fully understand it, but are we worried about the kashrus and all that stuff too? At that point, isn't kashrus a certain level of tumah and tahara too, or no? Is that like a different din?
No, kashrus is no. So we're gonna see weiter tomorrow, not tomorrow's daf, Sunday's daf, as Shabbos daf, that there's different levels of belief of what they know and what they don't know, which is sort of like what David was saying before. There's different things that they know. Some things they keep, some things they don't keep. Sometimes they keep trumah, sometimes they don't keep kodesh. Different times of the year they keep and they don't keep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's see. So v'neichush l'sheila, why are we choshev for borrowing? The Tanan kli cheres. So we know that a kli cheres, so we need more background on tumentari here. So a kli cheres, an earthenware kli, can't become tummy. The only way an earthenware kli can become tummy is if there's tumah inside the kli. Right? If you have an earthenware kli that has an opening and a sheret tangles its way down, a dead sheret tangles its way down off the roof and goes inside the airspace of the earthenware kli, that's the only way an earthenware kli can become tummy. Right? So since an earthenware kli can't become tummy, so any utensils that are inside the kli will be protected from tumah. So let's say you have a mace inside a house, but you have an earthenware kli that's closed, and there's utensils inside that earthenware kli. Those utensils do not become tummy. Right? It protects it. Same thing if you have an opening. There's a mace on the bottom floor, and there's people on the upstairs floor, and there's an opening. There's a stairwell, and you stuff it up with an earthenware door. Then that earthenware door is going to block the tumah from going. Right? But
does it block it from coming out also?
What do you mean out?
If you put a mace inside an earthenware.
Oh yeah,
plate.
I think so. So okay, so that's the background. So let's say it's a Tanan. Kli cheres matzal ala kol. A kli cheres saves everything. Divrei Beis Hillel, meaning anything that's inside the kli cheres is not going to become tummy. That's Shitas Beis Hillel. That's what we just said. Shamai Yomrim. No, it doesn't save everything. It saves food, it saves liquids, and it saves kli cheres that's in there. But other utensils that are in there, it's not going to protect. So why? Why are you excluding utensils, and you'd say that they do become tummy? So because utensils become tummy because of an Am Haaretz. Right? Meaning the earthenware kli became tamei before you were trying to use it as protection. Vein kli tamei chaytzitz. And if the kli itself, the reason why the earthenware kli acts as a barrier is because it's not tamei. But if it would become tamei, then it no longer acts as a barrier. Some of them Beis Hillel said, but okay, so now if it doesn't protect, so then it shouldn't protect the food and the drink that's in there either. When we said that the food and the liquid that's in there, we made it tar, now we're going on to Amud Beis, we said it's mutter for the Am Haaretz, right? But that's it. Is a kli, but should we be matter a kli that the tahara is going to be for us and for you and for him? Meaning the kli, the Am Haaretz is going to eat the food regardless, so we don't care, right? Whatever, we don't understand why we don't care, but we don't care. If the Am Haaretz doesn't care, we don't care, right? But if a kli that he may lend to a chaver, that we are going to be careful with, so we're going to say you can't use it, you have to tovel it. Now, we didn't get to the end of the question yet, but now the Gemara stops for a little story. So Tani, I'm embarrassed. It's a very pretty strong terminology to tell Beis Shamai. I'm embarrassed from your words, Beis Shamai. Why? Because what comes out? Efshar isha lasha bareva. You can have a woman who's kneading dough in a bowl, and the isha bareva tamei and shiva, and the woman and the bowl can be tamei shiva, ubatzek mutter, but the dough itself is going to be mutter. How could that be? She's kneading dough in a bowl. She's tamei, the bowl is tamei, and the food is tar. How could that be? Which is exactly what Beis Shamai said over here. The food and the liquid inside the earthenware kli is tar, and everything else is tamei. So lugin, and then he says another example. Lugin malei mashkin. You can have a jug full of liquid. Lugin tamei, and tumas shiva, and the lugin have tumas shiva for 7 days, meaning the tamei mace. Mashkin taharim, but the liquid that's inside the lug is tar. Yeah, so that was his kash on Beis Shamai. He says it doesn't make sense. So nitvaloi talmud echad mitamid Beis Shamai. Then he met a talmud of Beis Shamai, Amraloi, and he said to him, Amralach Taimon shel Beis Shamai. Right, I will tell you why Beis Shamai is why he says that. So Amar Loi, Am Haaretz said to him, say it. So Amar, excuse me. So Amar Loi, Kli Tamei Chaitzitza Ein Chaitzitza. There's a Kli that's Tamei, make a Chatzitza or not a Chatzitza. So we just learned that. Amar Loi Ein Chaitzitza. A Kli Tamei cannot protect the kalim inside of it. Right? It's only if the Kli is not Tamei that it could protect the Kli inside of it. Kli Shal Am Haaretz, Tamei Atar. As a Kli of an Am Haaretz, Tamei Atar. Amar Loi, Tamei. Kli of an Am Haaretz is Tamei. Fine. But if you tell the Am Haaretz that it's Tamei, Klum Mashkiach Alecha, is he going to listen to you? He doesn't care. He's not listening to you. If you tell him that it's Tamei, I'm Malach, Shalitar, B'Shachat Tamei. I'm Tar, you're Tamei. That's why Beis Shamai said that the Kli is Tamei. Meaning, essentially, he's saying the same thing that we've been saying. To tell the Am Haaretz that his Kli is Tamei, he doesn't care, right? So therefore, keep the liquids in the food or Tamei. We're not going to take it from him anyways. But the utensil, we have to consider that it's Tamei because he's not going to listen anyways. So that was the reason. So Miyad Halach Rabbi Yehoshua Nashtatach Al Kivre Beis Shamai. He went and he bowed down on the kever of Beis Shamai. Amar Nanesi Lechem Atzmes Beis Shamai. I've said bad things against you, the bones of Beis Shamai. Umas Tuma Shelachem Kach. If hidden halachas is so clear to you, Mufureshas halachas kama v'kama, then halachas that are clear, that must really be clear. So Amar Kol Yamav Hushcharu Shina Mepnei Taniyasa. His feet, his teeth became black because of his tinus. Okay, because of all this fast trying to do tshuva for going against Beis Shammai. And it happens to be that Beis Hillel in this Machlokes changed their minds and went like Beis Shammai. I happen to have just learned this mishna in Kalim this week. Yeah. And so the Lamaisa Beis Shammai won out on this. Either way, so what's the kasha? Katani mias lecha beloy. It says you and him. Alma shalina minas. You see, you do borrow kalim from an Am Haaretz. So if you borrow kalim from an Am Haaretz, so now don't we have to be concerned that you're going to use kalim that he didn't tovel properly because he toveled one kli inside of another kli. So my answer is which was what Taisus asked. What's the havamina? When we borrow kalim from an Am Haaretz, so we tovel them. Okay, very good. So once we tovel them, so that's all taken care of. So it says, so why didn't Beis Hillel answer that to Beis Shammai? When we're going to borrow it, we're going to be toveled. So what it says, no, it can't. That doesn't work because Tamei Meis by Hazal Gimel V'Zayin. We know that anything that comes Tamei Meis needs 7 clean days, and you need to have the Aivah Parah sprinkled on it on the 3rd and the 7th day. And Umana L'Zayin Yami Lo Moishli Inchi. People do not lend utensils for 7 days. Rabban, we're learning this in the morning with you might not write it down. A short-term loan, Shailinan, right? It's short-term. You don't have to write it. I just thought about that now, right? We have in the morning Chabura, we're learning when you're not allowed to write things. So you're allowed to borrow on Shabbos. You're allowed to say you're allowed to borrow because it's a short-term loan. Nobody's going to write it down. You can't say halva because then you might write it down. Okay, whatever. Agav. So anyway, so bottom line is you can't be matar a kli from an Am Haaretz that might be Tamei Meis because you need to borrow for 7 days and nobody borrows kalim for 7 days. So then Gemara asks, okay, tevila loy mehemni, and does not believe that he toveled it, meaning if an Am Haaretz comes by and says, I toveled it, don't worry, I'm good. Are we not going to believe him? But Tanya nemanan Am Haaretz al taras tevilas Tamei Meis. They are believed that they were matar something that became Tamei Meis. One is talking about his guf, one is talking about his kalim. When Am Haaretz says that he himself went to the mikvah, that we believe him. But when he says he toveled his kalim, that we're not going to listen to, right? That's one teretz. Rava Amar, no, they're both talking about with his kalim, right? And that he is believed. But like Kasha, one is he says, Rabbi, I toveled the kli and I never once toveled the utensil inside another utensil. All right, so then that's fine. But if he really educated Am Haaretz, right? Hey, listen, Rabban, this has got to be an educated Am Haaretz. Who knows about this bisman hazeh, right? We're not Am Haaretz. This is guy. He knows that he knows about the 3-inch rule. He says, I toveled it, but I never toveled it in a utensil that didn't have a 3-inch opening. So there we don't trust him. Right? So it's interesting. The one that sounds more educated, we don't trust. The Am Haaretz that sounds like he's less educated, then we do trust, because we're afraid that he's going to lie. He's lying when he says, I tovel it, but I made sure to have a 3-inch opening. We say he's an Am Haaretz, he doesn't care. Right? Fine.
Maybe he just used to put him on his brother's head who sat on the steps of the mikveh.
You see that the chaverim do, because no Am Haaretz will ever know such a scam like that. You gotta be a chaver to know that. I don't know. Anyways, but Tanya, right? And we have, this is not a Tanya that's a kasha. It's a Tanya as a proof. Neman Am Haaretz lemer peres lo yochsheru. Am Haaretz is neman to say that these fruits, like we've been saying many times, the fruit can't become tummy unless it gets wet. So an Am Haaretz is believed to say that this fruit never got wet. He's not believed when he says, oh, they became wet, but they didn't become tummy. Yeah, fine. So then the Gemara says, is Am Haaretz really believed when he says that he was tovel his body? So if you have a chaver who comes to do hazah, he shows up at the Beis Hamikdash, says, I'm tummy, I need to be sprinkled, right? So mazan olav miyad, so we sprinkle him right away, right? Meaning we believe that it's already the 3rd day. Am Haaretz, that's a chaver, right? And Am Haaretz shabala hazip, and if an Am Haaretz shows up, ein mazan olav ad sheyasav b'fneinu shlishi v'shvi. We don't believe him that he's on the 3rd day, right? We make him first come back to us in 3 days, or I don't even know if that means that he has to stay there on the Beis Hamikdash 3 days. I don't know, right?
What do they do? Give him a feher?
I don't know if they give him a feher. I don't know exactly how they know he's an Am Haaretz. I don't know. I have no. It's a good question. How do you know the guy's an Am Haaretz? He wears a kippah sruga. I'm saying, what's the deal? How do you know he's an Am Haaretz when he shows up? He has his chaver card, like with the vaccination, he waves it in front of them, it passes smicha. I don't know. But
He's wearing a mask.
Well, maybe. So he's saying we don't trust the Am Haaretz. We make him do the 3rd and the 7th day. Right? So you see that we don't trust him for tevila. It's quite an interesting thing, because the mikvahs, to bring it to the practical, I just had a lady who was not married, who had a whole shaila and taras mishpacha, this and that. I asked her, understand, you're single or you're married? She said, no, I'm single. I went to mikvah because I'm together with a guy. Like, huh? Right? Saying the mikvah the mikvah doesn't ask, are you married? Are you not married? They don't. They came up once. Should the mikvah
Pretty
start
impressed
asking
that she's asking a shaila.
Yeah, it was a fact.
That's what he's saying.
Yes, it was a fact. I don't even want to tell you. It's recorded.
Well, what do you think Rabbi Cohen would answer to the shaila?
I don't know. I don't know. Truth is, why can't I say the shaila? I guess I could say the shaila. She was together with the guy. And now she's pregnant. She's single. She thought she's marrying the guy. The guy forgot to tell her he's never got divorced. So now her whole hopes went up in flames. I don't know who the person is. Her whole hopes went up in flames because she thought she's going to marry this guy. Now she turned up pregnant, and the guy never told her he's not divorced, and he's still living in the same house with his wife, just in a different room. So now she's ticked off at the guy, and now she's pregnant. So he got a heter. It was 3 days before day 40. She can abort. She wants to know if that's legitimate, if it's true or not. I said I cannot be mikvah. I'm sorry. Somebody who's so calculated, going to the mikvah, and it's a perfectly kosher. Bottom line, it's a kosher kid. She went to mikvah. I mean, even without mikvah, it's a kosher kid. But I'm saying, I don't know the end of the story. I just said I can't get involved. Either way. But the point is that the mikvah's policy, as far as I know, is they do not ask you if you're married before you show up. They don't ask you if you did shiva nikiyim. They don't ask did you do prep? Nothing. They don't ask. You come in there, and now, especially since Corona, women wanted to come in and out and quick, and they didn't want to hang out there, so they mamish asked nothing. Now the mikvahs are trying to get it back to where it was, where they interrogate slightly to make sure that they did things properly, but it's becoming a whole touchy subject.
It depends
Whatever.
also what segment of the Jewish population you serve.
That's true. We're not, Phoenix is a whole berry.
No, I didn't mean Phoenix. I meant Hasidish. If someone not from Williamsburg or Monroe calls a Monroe Mikra, they're going to ask you. They have a lot of hakpadas that you may not have them for Akwe.
Right. No, that's
From
true.
my understanding, they let anybody come, and they don't care who comes.
What's the makar that there's this role of the mikvah that they play in interrogating people? Is there a makar in Halacha like that, or you let the person do what their rabbi or what they do?
That's the shaila. That is the shaila.
It's not passing the mikvah by them dipping. So what are we trying to do here?
No, the question is what's your responsibility?
Trying to make sure that they're doing things b'kedusha. So if they're not going to be mocked, but are you allowed to enable them and help them?
Who owns the
mikvah?
No, but the pizza man doesn't make sure I'm making a mazonos or hamotzi.
I agree. No, I agree with you.
But if the
who owns the mikvah?
That you're making them.
What right does anybody have to hit somebody? Exactly. What right does anybody have?
But the VOD can tell you what. Can tell you what music to play in your restaurant.
Well, maybe that depends what they give the hechsher on. I'm saying the mikvah.
Why? Listen, we have a light plug. We don't allow any gerus at all.
Why?
Because if you're out of town, you have some people who you may not want to associate with their gerus. So if you just make a hard and fast rule,
Pretty exclusive for Phoenix.
No, I'm just saying there are other places, there are other out of town communities that do that also, where they won't allow any gerus whatsoever. No matter who, no matter what, we don't allow gerus. It's just something because you can get into a lot of whatever. You can get into a lot of sticky situations if you don't.
I hear you. Okay, whatever it is, but that's a shayla. You see in the Beis
Yaakov,
yeah.
You're always upset about the music, like what Naftali just said about music. Are you allowed to play music when you bake matzahs?
I hear it depends which type of music, I guess. No, I don't know. I hear it. Yeah, but anyway, so here you see that the Beis Hamikdash did not just accept you. Oh, here I'm here to be sprinkled on the third and seventh day. No, they didn't. They didn't take you. Right? Unless you were a chaver, which we don't know how you define that. Right? So this is a raya binyamin that you do have to do some form of. We don't just we don't whatever. Yeah. I think, now that you remind me, there was another Maisa where she confided in the mikveh lady that she's not really married. She goes to the mikveh, she likes to. If that's true or not true, ich weiß nicht. But they wanted to know, should she rat him out? Should she not? I don't know, just leave it. I don't know. I don't know. You have to know. It's not a hefkerus. It's not a hefkerus. But clearly from this Gemara, it's saying that it's not a hefkerus. But anyways, okay, so you see that you don't trust the Am Haaretz. Let's see what. And we can really go wild on this one because of the chumrah that you were machmer on him in the beginning, right? Because you're not going to believe him and you're going to make him sit there for 7 days and wait for the seventh day. You're going to end up being makel on him, right? Meaning since at the end he's going to have to be tovel, right? So since you doubted him on the third and the seventh day, right? So therefore he's going to end up being much more careful later on, right? Because he's not going to want to tovel again. Meaning because basically what he's saying is that by pressuring him to make sure that he does it correctly, he's not going to want to mess up again and have to wait another 7 days or whatever it is. So therefore, because you machmer on him in the beginning, therefore he's going to end up being more, he for himself will end up being more makel. Yeah, okay, it's a little late, so let's continue. So then we said another din that when you have the outside of a kli and the inside of a kli, so for trumah, if it touches, let's say, the handle, so then just the handle becomes tameh, and the rest of the kli is going to be tar, right? But for kodesh, if it touches the handle, then the whole thing becomes tameh. So my acharayim v'toich, what does it mean, the back and the inside? In a kli, who the end, the back becomes tameh with liquids, acharav tamein, the back is tameh, toichai agnai aznai v'yadav taharim. But the inside and the ears and the rim and the ears and the handles, they're all tar. Nitma toichai, but if the inside becomes tameh, then kulei tameh, then the whole thing is tameh. This comes in before Pesach. I mean, it comes in with any time you want to kasher. You have a frying pan that has a handle. Do you have or any pan that becomes for kashrus? This is for tevila, right? This is for tyra. But if your pan becomes treif, does the handle also become treif, or just the pot? So if the handle's made out of the same material, it's one big piece, and of course the whole thing becomes treif. But if it's a separate handle, right? Let's say you have a plastic handle on a metal pot. That's already not so simple. That handle will needs to be kashered. Okay, it's late, so we don't have time to get into it. But for Tumah and Tara, it's going to depend. For Trumah, if it touches the outside, the rest of it's going to be okay. If it touches the inside, then it's all going to be Tumah. Okay, Beis Hatzvita. So Beis Hatzvita, similar thing. My Beis Hatzvita, what exactly is Beis Hatzvita? Samar of Yudah Mashmuel Makam Shetzayfta. It's the place where you hand it over. It sounds like it's also some form of handle. And he gave her over roasted wheat. That's by Rus. Ravasi Amar Rabbi Yochanan on a different shot. People that eat wings with gloves, like somebody on this stuff. Those Nekiyeh Hadas, right? The people that are clean, right? So they don't want to be dipping things in the same place that they're drinking from. So they have a separate section next to the pot that they dip things in. That would be called Beis Hatzvita. So that's a separate section. Right, the clean people. That's where they tzayvin is literally tzayvin means to die, but it means they tovel in there. Fine. So Tani Rabbi Kamed Rav Nachman Kol HaKelim Ein Lehem Acharayim B'Toich. All kelim don't have outsides and insides. Echad Kodshim Mikdash, Echad Kodshim Gvul. Whether it's Kodshim Mikdash or Kodshim Gvul. Amrale Kodshim Gvul. What exactly is Kodshim Gvul? Kodshim of the Gvul means outside the Beis Hamikdash. What kind of Kodshim is outside the Beis Hamikdash? Right, the Kodshim has to be inside the Beis Hamikdash. So trumah. So the Gemara says it's trumah. Right, V'atanan. But the Gemara says V'atanan Acharayim B'Toichu Beis Hatzvita LeTrumah. You have separate sections of trumah. So Dilma. So maybe what it means is Chulin Shenasu Al Taras HaKodesh Kamen. When we say we're dealing with kodesh that's outside the gvul, that's talking about chulin that's being eaten on taras kodesh. Akartan Milsa, and he remembered that's what it was. There's 11 categories in the Mishnah. Sheish Rishon is bein lekodesh, bein lechulin shenasu taras kodesh. The first 6 is for kodesh and chulin that's made on taras kodesh. Achraynos is for kodesh, v'avaloi lechulin shenasu al taras kodesh, but not for chulin that's made al taras kodesh. Okay, fine. So we'll stop here. What's this manim tomorrow? Shkia. Lichbencher, what about 5:30?
31, yeah.
5:31. You want to do 10 to 5?
10 to 5. 10 to 5
Okay.
and 8:30 Motzei Shabbos. Yeah?
You got
9:20 shear on Purim. That's for women.
9:20. Right? And the ladies share 9:20, so the daf's not so long. Shabbos is daf not so long, so 8:30.
But the Halacha's Purim is only for ladies.
It's for anybody. It's for anybody.
Naftali, ladies and you. Ladies
Why
and you.
did you say ladies shear?
If you
It's
hide your
mostly-
face, you could be anybody.
It's mostly for ladies, no? So
How about
Are we gonna have our own
don't
share?
allow anybody to show their face?
Are we gonna
That's
have
right.
our own share?
I hope not. Unless you want to give it.
What about Monday night? Monday night.
Oh, we want to do a show.
Monday night siyum.
I'm
Right?
saying instead of the regular
Monday night
halachas.
I hear.
Instead
Okay,
of the
maybe.
halachas of mezuzah.
Maybe. Okay, I'll speak to the chevra over
I don't
there.
know.
And, yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. I'll find out.
If you sweeten up the chimichurri, maybe they'll go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's funny.
What do they serve there now? I've been there for years.
Chimchurri.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. You allow that?
Yeah, but if you're in your living room, it doesn't help.